Welcome. My name is Doug Simcox, and this is Beyond the Chutes. New York has been a part of rodeo for more than 60 years. In this episode, we have New York cowboy Mike Swearingen, a three-time qualifier to the International Finals Rodeo in 4 events: bareback broncs, saddle broncs, bull riding, and steer wrestling. Mike tells us about the time that he rode Buffalo Bill, the Bounty Bull, in Utica, New York in 1990. I hope that you enjoy. Mike, when we were in Fort Worth, Texas at the PBR World Finals, after the championship round on Sunday, when Dalen was crowned the 2022 PBR World Champion, we sat down and shared a piece of pizza, and you told me about a Buffalo Bounty Bull. Do you recall?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill, that's right. So tell me about Buffalo Bill.
Well, Buffalo Bill is a half-bred buffalo cross with a regular bull. And he was raised in Oklahoma. A stock contractor by the name of David Bailey, was an IPRA rodeo contractor at the time, owned the bull. And he got his start out there in Oklahoma, and he was a regular. They had him in the draw right in IPRA rodeos, and so David Bailey put a lot of bull ridings on also, and so he would take him. The bull would go to bull riding. So that's kind of where he got his start from, and then throughout the years, the bull wound up back here in the East.
Okay. And there's a picture that's posted on the New York State Rodeo Museum Facebook page of you on this bull in 1990 in Utica, New York. It says $1,000 bonus, and it was an Ed Peck rodeo?
Yeah, Ed Peck was a rodeo contractor back here, and he had actually leased the bull. I believe at that time, I'm not 100% sure whether Ernie Treadway owned the bull at that time or whether Dave Martin, but he came back here. One of those two contractors purchased the bull from David Bailey prior to that, and Ed Peck leased the bull from, I'm thinking it was Ernie at the time, but he leased the bull to do promotional things. So and that was one of his big promotional things, is he had the bull back here and he used him as a bounty bull, and they would, any cowboy that wanted to put his name in for a draw at the rodeos that Ed was doing, then they would put it in there, and then whoever got their name drawn got a chance to get on him for the $1,000 bounty.
Okay. So he wasn't in the regular draw. You didn't compete on him.
Not there, okay. Not at Utica where that picture was.
Oh, really? No. Okay, so let me back up just a step then. Had you seen the bull buck before?
I had drawn him out in Oklahoma. I was on him when David Bailey owned the bull. He was probably about a 3-year-old back then. I had not seen the bull. We was at an IPRA rodeo out there, and I drew him as a regular bucking bull at that rodeo.
Oh, really? Okay.
And, that's where I was first acquainted with him, and I learned a lot about the bull at that time.
What did you learn?
Well, first off, it's kind of a long, funny story, but getting on him, that bull always tried to jump out. And he could amazingly jump a 6-foot fence just about standing flat-footed. He was an athletic, for as big as he was very athletic. But his back was different, and I guess, I don't know if you want to know the whole story of how this all, the draw, the whole rodeo and stuff come about, but it was quite a deal. David, I went to quite a few David Bailey rodeos, and this one particular rodeo, I have no idea, but David was he needled me the whole rodeo. I mean, he got under my skin, and I don't know why. I mean, usually things like that don't bother me, but started right in the bareback riding, and I had a horse that he wasn't fun at all to ride. But I hadn't had a good rodeo up to the point of the bull riding. And by the time we got on the bull, the bull was trying to jump out. And you had to get on him or try to get out on him about 5 or 6 times before he finally settled down and quit trying to jump out.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Bailey was, he would just really ride me and just, come on, let's go, and just all kinds of things. And I was getting so mad that by the time I really got out of there, I don't know, I've never had it happen before, but I could see David Bailey's face on that bull's head.
Oh, wow.
I was mad. I was really, really mad. And but anyway, when that bull jumped out there and he turned back to the left, I ride right-handed, but usually, I like him going away from my hand most of the time.
Mm.
And I went to spurring on him, kind of like Dalen does on his bulls.
Okay.
I just went at him. I was mad. I went at him, but I didn't ride him. But what had happened was he would turn back and spin. But then about 6 seconds into the ride, he reared in the air like a horse. And reared right straight in the air, and then jumped and dropped down and broke over and turned back again. Well, when he come back down, he hit the ground so hard, my hand rolled out of the rope.
Okay.
And he threw me off. And when he threw me off, he probably threw me 40 feet,
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
But it was quite a thrill. But anyway, the way the bull's back was designed and developed, he had a real high, sharp backbone, and there was no meat between, there's no place when I pulled my rope, my hand was loose in it. And there wasn't like putting it down on a good bull's back where your hand and knuckles go right into the meat of the bull, right into the muscle. There was nothing there. So when he broke over and when he hit the ground, my hand just rolled out of the rope, and that was the only reason he threw me off. So I did learn about the bull's back and the way its structure was. So
Okay.
That's what I learned about him anyway.
Okay. So how big was this bull? How much did he weigh? How tall did he stand? I'm looking at this picture. He looks huge.
Yeah, he was. When I got on his calf, I say a calf, he's like I'm saying, he's probably about a 3-year-old.
Okay.
He probably weighed right then about 1,500.
Okay.
1,600.
Okay.
By the time he came back to the east, and you see that picture there, he probably weighed upward of 2,200.
Oh my goodness.
He was a big boy, and I would say he was definitely over 6 foot at the shoulders.
Oh wow.
He was a really tall bull.
And anything unusual about the bucking motion or anything like that you recall?
Oh, he's heavy on the front end, as you can expect.
Okay.
He'd be real heavy on that front end, and when he would go away, when he would leave, instead of just kind of going forward like a normal bucking bull, he would almost rear to go forward and so that the way his back sloped and the way his design was, that little small rear end on that big front end, he's trying to scoot up from underneath you, and then he breaks over, and he was fast. I mean, he was quick for as big as he was. He was a quick bull.
Okay, so he bucked you off there. So then fast forward how many years? 1990 was the next time you saw the bull and you got on the bull, you drew the bull?
No. Yeah, I drew him out of the
bonus round.
Bonus run.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'd already been on. That was the last thing to go. They'd already had the rodeo, and that was what was going to sell the rodeo.
Okay, so you'd already ridden your competition bull.
Yes.
Oh
correct.
my. Okay. And what do you recall? Great shot coming out of the chute gate here. What do you recall?
Well, it kind of all started back, and when they brought this bull back to the east, they had a lot of trouble trying to keep him in the pens. Because, like I said, he could jump out, but he was big enough. He just put his head down, and he'd go through about anything that he had. So when they brought him back, and that was an indoor building rodeo that photo was taken at in the Utica. And so the whole time that rodeo was going on, they had him penned up in the back pens back there in a little small 8x8 just a real small pen because they didn't want to give him any room whatsoever to get any head start. So he had stayed back there. Well, they'd had him penned up. They fed and watered him right in that pen, and he'd been in there pretty much for about 2 days without a whole lot of exercise, because he was tough to handle. He was miserable. And so in that small pen, he stayed back there. Well, when they went to load him in the chute, of course, he was fighting, trying to jump out, and he he just come in there and he was ugly. He was flat ugly, and when I put my rope on and stuff, he was trying to jump out, and it took quite a while to get out on him. It was fighting the chutes and messing around there. Well, I'm going to back up a little bit. When I put my rope on, I knew because of the way his back was, I had to do something to build his backbone up, or the side of his back, so I had a place for my hand to go. So I took my bareback rigging pad and I folded it up and put it underneath my bull rope.
Okay.
And that kind of built his back up a little bit.
Really?
And then I pulled my rope.
Okay. So that sucked your hand down in, right? Something a little bit softer, so you could get a bit of a bite with your hand.
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
It built his back up so that it took that hollow of his backbone out. So the pad was down against his muscles, but it took that sharp edge off, and it gave me a place to put my hand when I pulled the rope in there. It was comfortable.
Okay.
Even though the pad was a little bit in the way, at least I had a place for my hand anyway.
Wow. So you had spent some time thinking about this since the last time you'd been on the bull. You'd thought your way through this.
Oh yeah. and when he was back here in the east, they had used him as a bounty bull, and I got to see him go quite a few times, and that was what 90% of the guys who would get on him that could ride really good, that drew him for the bounty. That's what would happen. Their hand would come out of the rope.
Had you seen anybody successfully ride him?
I hadn't personally seen anybody else ride him, but he had been ridden when he was in Oklahoma. When he was a calf, like I said, David would take him to them jackpots and stuff. There was, and I don't know 100% on the facts, but there was a Indian boy that rode him, I heard. And then Lane Frost was the next one to ride him, or Lane may have been the first one to ride him, and then this Indian boy. And then I don't know. The only other guy that rode him that I know of before I did was Roger Stockton, and when David owned him out in Oklahoma.
Okay.
So he did get ridden, but like I said, he was just kind of a younger calf. And then by the time he come back here, he had been ridden since Roger rode him out there. So he had a pretty good reputation.
Yeah. So this evening, you've got a plan put together. You use your bareback rigging under your rope. You pull the rope super tight. What's the game plan then going forward?
I pulled it as tight as I could because if it ever come back past his vertebrae from where I set the rope originally, if it ever slipped back even one or two vertebrae past him, the way his back designed, with that slope going to his back, it would have loosened right up. So I had to really pull it in him.
And did you really pull it in him? That had to put a ton more power up through your arm then too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I normally at that time I never really pulled a very tight rope.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us about the ride.
Well, it was a pretty much a day off for me. Like I said, the bull had exhausted so much energy fighting me in the chute and being hemmed up back there for 2 days. He really didn't, to be honest with you, he didn't buck normally like he normally does. But about halfway through the ride, he threw in a nasty roll on his shoulders, which really whipped me and almost whipped me on the ground. I mean, it was such a surprise because he was going out through there just jumping and kicking straight away. He never did turn back, and I was waiting for the turn back because when he turned back, he meant business, and he never did. So I'm kind of thinking about that, and then all of a sudden, he had that real big roll on that front end, and but I got through that, and once I got through that, then I still had my seat real good, but it just that belly roll was. I remember that, and then the rest of it was just a day off. Well, it was just, it was a combination of a lot of things that probably caused the bull not to buck like he normally does, and I think a lot of it was just he was just so uh, he wasn't exercised, wasn't loose and everything.
Okay. Okay. So you make the whistle, you pick up $1,000.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And then what
It's
happened
kind.
to? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's kind of funny because what he would do is at the end of the bull riding, at the end of the regular rodeo and bull riding, he was Ed Peck announced his own rodeo, so he's announcing and he says, "Okay, now we're going to draw the bounty bull," and he's going on and on, making this big spiel up about the bull hadn't been ridden, and I can remember we were sitting there, and I'm going to back up just a little bit. The night before, I had a dream that I had drawn him. So it was I really did. I mean, I dreamed that I drew him. That was just something that I knew that I was going to draw him. It was a
Oh,
strange
wow.
feeling.
Wow.
And number one, I was dead broke at that time. I'd won a little bit of money during the rodeo, so that money I had there, but we'd been on a pretty long run and hadn't caught up to some of the money I'd been winning during the weeks. But so anyway, when he pulled my name out, he just pulled the name out of the hat, and then the first thing out of his mouth was, "Oh no, oh no."
He
He
knew.
said, "Of all the people, I didn't want to draw this bull. Oh no!" And so he's kind of got everybody in suspense, and I'm going, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" And then he says, "Yep, Mike Swearingen." He said, and Ed said over the announcers, "I think I just lost my 1,000."
Oh no. Okay. All right. All right.
So that was kind of comical,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that kind of set that up, and
And you spent you got the $1,000, so you weren't broke anymore.
yeah, I wasn't broke, and it was kind of fun because he stood there and he had the $1,000 sitting there at the announcer stand, and I went up there and he did a little small interview and stuff, and then he
Yeah.
was counting it out,
Okay.
and he had and in front of everybody, they were all hundreds, so that was kind of a it was unique. He did a good job. He was a pretty good promoter and stuff like that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that
For
kind
sure.
of that put the kibosh to leasing Buffalo Bill from him.
Okay. You didn't see him after that?
Yeah, Dave Martin bought the bull. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure bought him from Ernie Treadway, and David had him. And I might be getting it backward. David might have been bucking the bull right along, and then Ernie bought him. But the bull had been I'd been trying to get on him as a bounty bull for quite a while, and David wouldn't let me.
Mm.
He wouldn't let me get on him.
Okay.
And then the one time David come up and he couldn't get anybody to get on him, and he said, "Mike, if you want to get on him, go ahead." He says,
Yeah.
because Dave would increase the bounty on him.
Mm. Mm.
Every time somebody would get on him, he'd raise it like 50 or $100,
Okay.
and he got up to be quite a bit of money.
Okay.
The time that I could have gone on him, I was hurting pretty bad. I'd been rodeoing real hard, and I was really sore, hurt, so I didn't bother getting on him.
Okay. Okay. So what was the reaction of the crowd? What did they make of this?
Oh, they had a blast. They roared and roared and roared, and it's funny. I met a girl after the rodeo, talking to her. She was just a fan. I didn't know her or anything. She come up and introduced herself. She goes, uh, "I've got a question.
Yeah.
Was that just a setup deal? Was
Yeah.
that just?"
Yeah.
I said, "No, it was the real deal, but
Yeah.
it was just the way it happened." She goes, "Oh, he just made so much of it, but." It was real the way he put it up. It's just I had a lucky day, I guess.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And I gotta ask, did you do the Yankee Shuffle after that?
You know the answer to that, Doug.
So I gotta ask, and I see your daughter Mikey. She posted it up on and this New York State Rodeo Museum Facebook. Just what a cool thing, and seeing these pictures and bringing all these memories back. But the Yankee Shuffle, she posted a picture of you. I can remember seeing you do it. Tell me where that started. Where did you first start that?
Well, a good friend of mine that was rodeoed back here in New York, Mike Waters. It made the he was I don't know if that was the year he won the all around in the IPRA, the the world all around. But one of the performances, and I happened to be there just about. Yeah, I'll tell you what year it was. It was in '74.
Mm,
Finals of year '74, because the year I graduated, after I graduated out of high school, I
mm,
went and watched the IFR. I
mm.
drove out to Tulsa and watched it out there. And Mike Waters was out there bulldog. He rode bulls and deer wrestled,
Mm.
and he had made a terrific run in the steer wrestling, and he was winning around. And Mike did the Yankee Shuffle, the New York Quake, whatever you want to call it,
Okay.
and he brought the house down, and it was kind of a neat deal. Well, a year or two after that, when I really kind of got going, I just I had a good ride somewhere and I did it, and I realized that the crowd really got into it, and
Okay.
that's where it kind of started.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's neat. Yeah, that picture again brings back so much memory, and I didn't know the story of the Yankee Shuffle, so thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
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 One other
So
sub.
another Yankee,
Go
another
ahead.
Yankee had started that.
Another Yankee had started that. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
figured you had to be down somewhere. Somebody had to be
Yeah.
down south somewhere for it to get the
Yeah.
Yankee part of it.
No, and Mike was a heck of a hand back here. I mean, he would come back here. He was going to the IRA rodeos, and then he'd come back east here, and we had the Empire Rodeo
Mm-hmm.
Association in New York. Is pretty much where we started everything, and
Mm-hmm.
and uh, Mike was back here, and Bobby DeVecchio, and some of them guys were riding back here when they were just. Mike had been riding a while back here, but like Bobby's getting a start back here, and some of the rodeos down near the Catskills. They had weekly rodeos down there. So, some of these guys that got their start right back here that went on to be something. And, and a lot of us guys that were following them and riding with them just picked up on what they were doing and just kind of went on with it.
Okay. Okay. Another story for another day. Our goal is to capture lots of stories that the New York cowboy Mike Swearingen will share with us in the future. Maybe even some stories that his mother Nancy Swearingen might be hearing for the first time. During this call, he did tell me another story about an even wilder ride a bit further north. We will share that story in an upcoming episode. This is Beyond the Chutes, where we discuss New York Rodeo, the people and the places they take us, and the wild, bounty winning rides they share with us. This is Doug Simcox. Thank you for listening.